Hey guys, Jordy from Seven Eagle Group. I am so fired up tonight to talk to you on this live broadcast. I have a extremely special guest. Is that a word? Extremely special? Probably not. But I'm just fired up to have on with me. This is Doug Learmont. He is an Army combat veteran living in Minnesota right now. And this series that we're doing on job search experts helping the military community is actually inspired by a friend of mine, Jeremy Montgomery from Fusion Cell, another military recruiting firm, who was talking the other day online about the community and all the people in the military community and the job search side really coming together to help one another. And Doug is a guy who I just met last week, but I've been following him on social media, on the Veteran SkillBridge network group on Facebook. He's a frequent commenter, and I'm so impressed by this guy's advice that he's been given to his fellow veterans and to active duty service members. That I said, I gotta talk to this guy. He has such a wealth of knowledge that I want to share because I truly feel it can really help a lot of people. Doug, welcome to our live broadcast. I am so excited to have you, and I can't thank you enough for taking a few minutes out of your day.
No, I appreciate that you're having me on here, Jordy. I'm looking forward to having a good chat and kind of putting some information out there for folks who are transitioning and hopefully able to benefit folks. At the end of the day, it's about getting the right information and knowing what's out there. And part of whether it's a career skills program, Seven Eagle, or any other of these organizations, it's about linking the right people to the right places. If you're a veteran, there is a place for you. There is a place for you. It's about finding that, which is so important and can be challenging at times. I'm hoping we have a good conversation around those topics tonight.
Absolutely. So before we even start, I mean, just listen to this stat, everyone. When I was talking to Doug the other night, he told me when he was transitioning, 14 out of 16 job offers for the SkillBridge program. So he was a SkillBridge candidate, just absolutely knocked it out of the park with that. And then since he's been working for a top 50 Fortune 500 company in the world, everyone will know where he works. I'll let him talk about that, but involved also on the hiring side too. So now I think you mentioned you've done 175 interviews. So he sat on both sides of the table, successfully navigated it as an active duty service member, getting into SkillBridge, in transitioning that into a full-time W-2 employee position, and then being on the other side of the table. So really getting an incredibly unique perspective to identify what are the most powerful tips and strategies that you guys can be doing. Before we start, Doug, do you mind giving everyone just a little bit of an intro to your military career? What got you into the service? What were some of the best things that came out of that for you?
No, absolutely. So I joined the Army when I was 20 years old. I was a student here in Minneapolis, St. Paul, at the University of Minnesota. I was an economics major, doing great things, working at a local civilian company at the time. And I thought, heck, I'm 20 years old. It's time to go out there and get some adventure. So I walked down to my recruiter's office and I was put into the delayed entry program. But 9 months later, I was off to basic training at Fort Benning, Georgia, home of the infantry. I didn't branch infantry when I became an officer, but it was one of those where, it was a very formative experience as a young person. So I went through basic training, went out to OCS, again, decided the officer route was something that I wanted to do. It was something which my recruiter was very convincing of, and he got me hook, line, and sinker for it. And here we are 12 years later. But it was one where I went ahead, became an officer. I chose to become a CBRN officer, NBC officer. That's what I did the entire time I was in the military, and I have no regrets. It's one of those jobs which is as interesting as you make it in the military. And I'm fortunate to have had great commanders and NCOs who made it an absolutely amazing 11 years of my life. So did that, did the standard officer thing, went to the basic course, became a platoon leader, went to the S3, went to the career course, became a company commander, somehow through graduate school and into the mix there as well. And to cap it off, spent just under a year working with NATO in Afghanistan on the aviation task force. Came back to the U.S. and started that transition, and it was one of those where I was downrange, loving what I was doing. At the end of the day, a real world mission is so important. It gives you that sense of purpose and pride, working with your brothers and sisters. But at the end, it was for me at that 10-year mark. I knew it wasn't going to be my future. I have a family at home. I have a 9-year-old here, and it was one of those where I started that transition. And as I'm sure we'll be discussing this afternoon here, there were a lot of bumps in the road, but ultimately at the end of the day, having the right information, knowing the right people will make that transition easy if you want it to. So no, it was an absolutely great path, had great officers, great NCOs, great battle buddies. And I'm happy to be here on the other side of the fence now talking about that experience.
That's awesome. I love that you had a great experience and you took away a lot from that. So the format for today's session is we're going to ask Doug to talk about 7 different topics. All right. So wait, before we get into that, I'm sorry, we'll just jump right into it. So the first one is a topic that I just love talking about because I think so many people get this wrong. And this is, how do you figure out you're serving, you're getting ready to leave and to ETS, how do you figure out what you want to do with your career? So I'd love to hear what your take is on this important topic, Doug.
Absolutely. So in the military, whether you're an officer, NCO, or junior member, your career path was set for you. It was based on your MOS and was based on the needs of your service, and that's fantastic. And again, one of the negatives of that coming into the civilian world is that all these choices fall on your lap, and the onus is on you to make it happen. And if you don't, you're probably not going to end up having a good day and a good career. So when it comes to perfect career path, so what I'd recommend is pick a career which supports your personal mission. And what I mean by that is what's the mission on the home front? Again, all of us served, all of us raised our hand and took that oath, and that's fantastic. But as we get older, as we have families, as our life changes, that personal mission changes. So first of all, choose a career which supports your personal mission. And as a story for myself, again, I'm a parent. I have a child in the 4th grade here. He plays sports. He does all these great things. And for me, my mission leaving the military was to be the best dad that I could be. And part of that, in the transition is doing a lot of looking in the mirror and finding out what those priorities are and sticking to your priorities. Again, it's when we're in the military, when you're S1 or human resources, that, hey, it looks like you're coming up on orders. You're going to be PCSing in 6 months, pack up the house and let's go. And that's great. And that's how the military operates. And one of the great things about moving back to the civilian world, because that's where we all started and that's where we're all going to go back to at some point in time, is that you own that career again. And in my situation with a kid, I chose to have a career where I don't work a lot of hours. I work maybe 50 to 60 hours a week at a Fortune 50, which we'll talk about. But we live 3 blocks from school. I live down the street from the baseball fields and the soccer fields. And I know for myself, it will be somewhat limiting in my civilian career. But when I chose the company that I went with, and again, I went through a career skills program in a Hiring Our Heroes here in Minnesota. But it was what drove the decision to me. I was fortunate to have a lot of offers, but the company I chose, I was able to work 15 minutes from home. I was able to have hours which let me be a dad, which is something that I couldn't do quite as well when I was deployed, for instance, or out at NTC or JRTC. And it's been incredibly rewarding to see my family flourish and grow now that I've changed those goals again. So that perfect career path, in summary, it's what supports your personal mission. At the end of the day, we all leave the military for a reason. Maybe it's because we're retiring, maybe it's because we're separating, but it's really that good time to look in the mirror and see what those personal goals are and ensure that your career matches and supports those goals.
Do you mind talking a little bit about what SkillBridge opportunity you ended up selecting and why you selected that path?
No, that's an excellent question. So I went through the Hiring Our Heroes program, which is one of the many career skills programs within the Department of Defense. I think within SkillBridge, within Hiring Our Heroes, rather, I had a choice of 15 companies, again, 14 of those involved an offer, which was fantastic. But then what solidified my decision in coming to Pepsi Corporation, which is America's, again, it's a Fortune 50 company and America's largest food and beverage company, what was really that ability to choose the job that I wanted. Pepsi's gigantic. It's worldwide. There are jobs in every single state and city. Pepsi, it's a global company. It's like Microsoft. It's like any of these other companies that have a presence in every single town that you'll ever go to. And part of me coming to Pepsi was that it gave me the stability to be here, to spend my time being a dad, to work. I work about a 5 a.m. to a 3 p.m. Shift out at one of the local facilities here. And it gives me the ability to be there when my son comes home, to be there when my extended family is having events. So ultimately, the decision first and foremost was that it was a great company. It pays very, very well. And second of all was the fact that the schedule fit with what I wanted. And again, we're 6 months into it, and so far so good here. It's been a fantastic experience.
That's awesome. Good. I love that advice. All right, we're going to go on to the next topic, which is networking.
Yes.
So how important is the task of networking to a service member, to a veteran? And there's a ton of, I think, misinformation about what is networking. So talk a little bit about this topic and how you successfully put together a network around you of people who can help you with your career.
No, so to do this, let's pretend we're wearing the uniform for a sec. The hardest part of PT is the first step when you're going on that 4-mile brigade run or whatever PT it is. That first step is always the hardest, and it's the most painful. And it's one of those where you have to take that initial step, and it's a testament of your will and your commitment to separate. Again, it can be daunting, but ultimately it has to be done. There's not a single person who's of rank and authority at Pepsi Corporation. Certainly, I don't think any company in the world that didn't get their job because of somebody they knew. Again, we talk about those barriers as a military member coming onto the civilian world. The number one way to ease your transition is to know people in the right places. So just to kind of to go ahead and flesh that out. If you're 12 to 18 months from separation and not networking, you're going to start falling behind the power curve. And that's like, holy cannoli, that's a long time. 18 months is a year and a half. So I say this: knowledge is power, and the best way to maximize the chance of a very successful transition is to learn from those who went before you. So then we have the Career Skills program, we have the 7 Eagle Group, and many other organizations which help you do that homework. And that's fantastic when it comes to talking with companies. They help you get that foot in the door. But with networking, it's one of those where reaching out is the hardest and first step. I'd advise all transitioning service members to utilize that 1 year free of LinkedIn Premium. It's something where there's a thing on the internet right now where, hey, you should definitely wait till you're in, where you're in the workforce or until you think you're going to start using LinkedIn actively. LinkedIn is that secret weapon, and I guarantee that once you start building that network, you'll find people who have recently transitioned, people who are maybe at the same duty station or at the same MOS, because those will show up in the suggested to you. And even if there's no way, say you're at JBER or some other remote installation, reach out to people. At the end of the day, someone who has been through the transition before you will know what it's like to feel that trepidation, to feel that nerves, and to feel that nervousness. And I will say that I probably had 30, 40 people reach out to me on LinkedIn in the past month here. Every single one of those people has received attention, because I know what it's like to be in those shoes. I know what it's like to be a parent, to be separating, and just have all these questions and worries. And I'd say that when it comes to networking, the first step is the hardest. Reach out to someone, because as soon as you break that ice and find that confidence, it flows a lot more smoothly. And so I'd say get out there, do it, and no question is a dumb question.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, the what you said about that first step is the hardest. That is the truth, because you're scared. You're like, oh, am I going to get rejected? I'm going to feel like an idiot. But people, veterans and civilians alike, I guarantee you the majority of them are good people. They're like Doug.
Yep.
They're like me, who respond, who want to help. We want
Yep.
to share what we've learned along the way and pay it forward. So I love that. Good advice. Next one. All right. Let's talk about now the SkillBridge internship. Why should somebody who's active duty right now, why should they consider this program? How can it really help them in their career?
No. So as a large blanket statement, the career skills programs are the best thing to come to the Department of Defense in the past decade. So what these organizations do is they've done the homework for you. The hardest, just like, just like taking that first step during PT is the most difficult. Getting that foot in the door at a civilian organization is also the most difficult, because you don't know what the heck you're doing, and that's absolutely fine. So something that I'd offer is, so I saw an interesting post on LinkedIn today, and just to recount it, there's a story I'm just reading here. There's a story from a young lady who had sent out literally 1,000 resumes and was having no luck, and she had this big post on LinkedIn. It got a lot of attention and whatnot, and it was a situation where she was throwing out a gigantic net and hoping she would catch something. But if you're throwing the net into a bathtub, well, you're never going to catch any fish, right? And when it comes to SkillBridge, when it comes to Hardening Our Heroes, when it comes to again, whether it's 50 Strong, 7 Eagle, or any of these organizations which seek to match you to a civilian organization, they've done the homework. They've absolutely done the homework. And the example, I'll use the military example here again. So just imagine showing up to the motor pool at 03 and you have a field exercise. But what's really cool is that you show up where the trucks are already loaded, the chow's already hot, you already have the field site set up. All you need to do is show up with a smile on your face and a bit of motivation, and you will get what you want. And that's why I'd advise using these programs. Can you do it by yourself? Absolutely. But as we all learned in the military, doing stuff by yourself sucks, and it's done a lot more effectively when you work in cooperation with others who know what the heck they're doing. And so that's what I'd offer. Utilize SkillBridge, utilize those career skills programs. And at the end of the day, if you don't like it, it's not like a military contract. You aren't locked in. If you don't like it, try something else. And that's okay. And that's something which service members struggle with, is that it's okay to walk away from the job. But again, it's all about getting that foot in the door and learning what you like and what you don't like.
Yeah, and also it's such a win-win. Like, the company who takes you on in the SkillBridge, they get the opportunity to sort of see you in action for 6 months. So they can, if they do choose to hire you, they can do that with confidence. And then you get the opportunity, like you said, Doug, to really kick the tires on this. Is this a career you want? And assuming it is, you are in such a good position to get hired. I think so much further advanced than just some random job seeker, because you have this upper hand. You know the people there. They've seen you work. So good, excellent. Yep. All right, resume. I'm not a big resume guy. I think I love the networking more, but the resume, unfortunately, it's a vital part of the process. You need one. You need a good one. Talk a little bit about your favorite tips, suggestions, pitfalls for resumes.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. So again, as Jordy mentioned earlier, I currently work as a hiring manager. I manage throughput of over 200 candidates per year, did about 170 in my last 8 months here at Pepsi Corporation. So I'll say this, because I see it every day, and I see a lot of it every day. As a hiring manager, your resume or your online application where you copy and paste your resume doesn't mean a whole lot to me. Okay. It doesn't mean a whole lot. It's a piece of paper. It's a piece of paper you can lie on. It's a piece of paper you can make mistakes on. It doesn't mean a whole lot to me. However, and I'll tap the foot here. However, tap, it's the document which gets you in front of me as a hiring manager. Okay. So the way this works is not just Pepsi Corporation. This is Amazon. This is Boeing, Lockheed Martin, all those big companies which we're looking at. Most of these companies have a large internal or contracted department which screens candidates to determine if they make that first cut. So if you make the cut, you conduct a screening with the human resources partner who is definitely not familiar with the military. And if you pass that, you'll end up talking to the hiring manager, such as myself, who makes that hire or no hire decision. And if it needs to go higher up the chain for that decision, well, we can certainly make that happen as well. At the end of the day, that resume is your ticket to getting to me. So, oh, great, Doug. That's fantastic. So so as a manager, I don't care about the resume, but so what's the use of a resume? Okay. So the way it is all large companies, and Pepsi's is actually contracted. It's not done in house. And I think that's the same with many companies. Amazon's is done in house, is in those tracking systems, which your resume goes into. There's electronic screening systems. It's artificial intelligence. It looks for keywords in your application. So, for example, if the job description has a key responsibility of logistics manager, or talks about needing people leadership, which is actually a pretty common term these days, it would behoove you, another military term, it would behoove you to have those words on your resume, because you can be a highly qualified candidate, but if you cannot get through that initial screening, you will not get in front of a person who has the ability to say yes or no. Again, to go back to that young lady on LinkedIn, she probably has 300. I think she has 300 replies to that post right now. She casted out 1,000 resumes. No luck. Stop wasting your time doing that. Make a resume that actually gets you in the door. Because if you're casting the net, if you have a generic resume or a resume which you got help with at the transition center, which is fine. Stop the generic stuff. At the end of the day, you're not a generic person. That job isn't a generic job. Go make a generic resume. Go ahead, get in, get past the electronic system, and talk to an actual person, so they can see what you are worth. At the end of the day, your resume is that key to open the door. Once that door is open, it gets so much easier after that. But you got to get through that door first.
How easy is it for you to spot a generic resume that you can tell has been blasted out to 50 other companies that same day, versus one where you like, wow, this person actually spent 20 minutes thinking about writing, just for me?
Absolutely. And that's a good question. I'll use another LinkedIn example. And again, tap. If you aren't on LinkedIn Premium yet, get it. It will make your life a lot easier. And again, that's something which took me a long time to learn. So LinkedIn example. So today there's a gentleman who is transitioning. I think he was a E9 or he's either E9 or 07, just that very, very high echelon there. He posted his resume for his network to see and said, hey, I had that on his picture. Hey, I'm open to work, etc. This resume was 10 pages long. I was looking through this, and he listed every single job he had since he was an E1 private. Literally every school he went to, every deployment, and that I could tell, again, it's fantastic. I'm sure he's a great leader in the military, and he'll do well in his civilian career. But when I, as a civilian hiring manager, look at that, I can tell that you're just trying to put everything and anything in there to impress me. And to add on to that example, I was at a virtual hiring fair. I had another gentleman, I think he was of that E9 or 07 equivalent. And we were chatting, and he copied and pasted his entire resume into that chat box. Hey, I was responsible for deploying a brigade to Afghanistan, had an MTO of like $8.5 million worth of tanks and all these great things. That's great, but I'm not hiring somebody that can write. So just to go back, I'm not hiring somebody that wants to write a lot. I'm hiring somebody that wants to work in the job that I'm offering. And I'd say to your point, Jordy, it takes me about, 3 seconds to find out if a resume is generic or if it's not, because all I have to do is look at it. So again, so tap. If it's longer than 2 pages and it doesn't have any keywords that I had in my job description, I'm just going to shred it. And I've done that many, many times. And I probably passed over some great candidates. But if you aren't taking the time to prove that you want that job, I'm not going to take the time to talk to you. It is what it is.
Yeah, and it is, like you said, it's such a shame because some of these candidates, are so good, but you just don't have time. You got a stack of applicants. You got to whip through them. You don't have more than a few seconds to glance at somebody before saying yes or no. Good advice. All right, next one, the interview.
Yes.
What do you like? What do you don't like? What advice?
Absolutely. So I think most veterans tend to be numbers people in some capacity. So when it comes to that hiring decision, getting you in the door is the resume. So out of 100% or 100 points, if you want to say that, your resume is about 10% of what matters to me. Again, I can read it. Chances are I've probably found an error on it. I probably dislike. I dislike the formatting. If you use fancy formatting, I dislike that. And that's fantastic. So What I really, really want is for you to seal the deal in the interview. And as a hiring manager, as an example today, there were 10 interviews on my calendar. Half those guys didn't even show up for the interview, which is incredibly embarrassing for them. They got blacklisted. But at the end of the day, I had all these people that really, really, really wanted jobs. So 90% of my hiring decision is based on that interview, whether it's in person, Zoom, on Teams, etc. And the first thing is this: act like you want the job. I'd rather have you cancel that interview. I mean, you could email HR, say, hey, I'm sick. I had a family emergency. If you're grumpy that day, please don't interview with me, because I've already seen 5 other grumpy people that day, and I'm probably grumpy too. And so just remember that there's no there's no walking away from that first impression you make. So if you're having a bad day, please reschedule. And so that second thing is, because I have your resume and I've looked through it. I've looked through your work experience. Maybe you've already had a background check. I have a pretty good idea of who you are. Now I want to see your face. At the end of the day, I'm human like everybody else is. I'll have perceptions of who you are, what you look like, what you sound like, how you're going to answer my questions. And that per interview, then whether it's in person or via Zoom, will either make or break that stereotype that you've set for yourself through that resume. And I'll tell you right now, the number one way to knock it out of the park with me is to smile, tell me good morning, good afternoon, show that you care. Because in my job here in food and beverage manufacturing, people leadership is essential. If you can't get along with myself on the other side of the Zooms, on the other side of a computer or a Zoom screen, there's no way in hell that you're going to get along well with my guys on the factory floor. So just keep in mind that first impression is absolutely important. And the second thing too is I already know what I want to ask you. Let me do the talking. It's one of those where I want you to sit back, relax, enjoy the experience, and ultimately let me do the talking. I know exactly what I want to find out about you. I've read that resume. I've read inked it. I've torn it up. I've looked at it. I've looked at it 10 ways to Thursday. I want you to sit back and just ask and just answer what I ask. And if you do that, you're already ahead of 90% of the people. And again, that last part there is to come with a positive attitude and present yourself as you want to be presented. And is a short story there. I had a very, very, very strong candidate interview with me for a job. He had the strongest resume. He chose not to turn on his screen during Zoom. So I couldn't put a face to a name. I don't hire a resume. I hire a person. And if you can't show me your face, sorry, dude, you're out. And I actually gave the job to someone else who had a much weaker resume, but had a great interview. And let me see his face. And so just remember, you are selling that full person concept to whoever the hiring manager is. So be out there, put your best foot forward. Remember to smile. And one way to win me over personally, don't ask just how my day is doing. Ask what I love about my job, and we can talk for a long time about that. Show that you care as a person, because again, I'm not hiring a resume. I'm hiring a person.
You know, it's like this theme I'm putting together as almost every one of your answers, everything you're talking about.
Yeah,
it's like it requires such little skill. This is like doing the easy things. Like this is stuff we learned in kindergarten. Like not once have you talked about like, oh, you got to go get a Security Plus certification and come back. You know, these are just like basic human things that just anyone can do, which is encouraging, which is great. Yes. And the reason I think you're saying that is because so few people do the easy things, you know? Yeah. Anyway. All right. And this is the last topic. So now you're hired. The game is not over. This is just like starting. It's like graduating, you know, or, you know, it's the commencement. You're just beginning your journey here. What are some things that people can do? I call it getting on the fast track, because you don't want to get stuck in some dead end job. There's opportunity in every company. How can somebody catapult their career?
No, that's an excellent question. So let me sit back and answer the question, why the hell I actually hired you in the first place. So companies don't want you because you served in the military, okay? I don't have a veteran hiring quota. Companies like Amazon will put, hey, you know, we're committed to hiring 50,000 veterans in the next 2 years. Well, guess what? I understand that that's in the media. Fact of the matter is that those veterans aren't what's going to make their bottom line and continue to see their success in online retail. I personally don't care if you're a veteran. And there's actually a pun that I use in the hiring world. If you don't make money, you don't make sense. And it's something where I don't want you because you're a veteran. I want you because of those skills and attributes, that work ethic, dedication, honesty, and discipline that you learned in the military. And so having said that, those attributes, those positive attributes, which made you successful in the military, will make you successful on the civilian side. And if you sucked at those things in the military, you're also going to suck at it on the civilian side, because again, I'm not hiring the resume. I'm hiring the person. I'm hiring the living, breathing human who's just like me and Jordy and everybody else. At the end of the day, I'm looking for you to be who you are and be that best you. And so when it comes to moving up and getting on the fast track, you have to do the basics well. I had a great battalion commander who said in my initial counseling as a company commander, don't let being perfect get in the way of completing the mission. And what I mean by that is do those basic things well. If you do those basic things well, if you maintain a personable accountability, if you are a personable individual, if you keep your word, and if you're an honest person, you will rise to the top. It's doing those basic things well. And I'm currently in Pepsi Corporation's leadership development program, and I have many peers out there. And what ranks us and what racks and stacks us isn't our ability to walk onto the factory floor and be the biggest and best manager out there. It's the ability to do the basics well. It's my ability to get food made and out to all large retailers. And the way that you do those things and the way that you succeed in any job is to do the basics well. Again, good work ethic, dedication, honesty, and discipline. Again, those things took you a long way in the military, and those people that made rank are those who generally practice those things. Those are the same exact things which will take you to the top in the civilian world. And on that same token, I would also advise, don't try to rush. Don't rush success. If you do those things, success will find you, just like it did in the military, or maybe just like it didn't in the military. And I would say do those things well, and your hard work and dedication will pay off. And in the case of the civilian side, you'll get a hell of a lot more compensation than you typically would in the military if you do those things well. So again, just do the basics well, be a good person, stick to your word, and you will rise to the top. And that's an absolute promise.
That's great. Great advice. I love it.
Yeah.
Actually, I take it back. We do have one more topic, the pay it forward, which is, one of the things I admire so much about you and why you decided to take some time away from your family and be with us tonight. Talk about why this is so. I didn't serve in the military. My dad did. And I am just, every day I'm amazed at the bond that you guys have and how important that is in who you are to help one another.
Yeah. No, so in paying it forward, helping your brothers and sisters. So as a caveat to that, just remember that when you leave the military, your first allegiance should, if you have a family, it should be to your family and your loved ones. So always keep that in the forefront. Again, am I putting my family first? Am I putting my personal needs first? Paying it forward involves helping people who have been in your shoes. Those of us who have been NCOs and officers know exactly what that's like when we see that new E1 to E4 into the unit who's straight out of tech school, struggling, bad at PT, doesn't know how to shoot. It's ingrained in us to want to help them to get better. And that's something, whether it's, loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, personal courage, all those values go back into helping other humans do a great job and complete the mission. And in today's world, whether we like it or not, social media is a huge part of how people plan their careers. It's how I learned about the SkillBridge and Career Skill program. It's how Jordy and I linked up. And it's one of the, being online, again, there's a lot of misinformation out there, and we've all seen it on the internet and on Facebook. And in this case, paying it forward is something which we can best do online. And that sounds kind of corny because, because the best interactions are face to face. However, in today's world, where not only COVID is still a thing, but we're geographically disparate, getting online and just seeing where that need is most important. Again, it's like that NCO walking into the room and seeing who's struggling. He or she is going to help that soldier or that airman or that Marine who's struggling the most, and ultimately pay it forward to them because they knew what it was like to be in those shoes. So I'd say get out there and find your place. And again, maybe your place isn't being on Facebook. Maybe your place isn't participating in American corporate partners, but there is a place for you. And I'd ask that that everybody out there, after your transition is complete and you're experiencing all this great success in the civilian world, please do find some way to pay it forward. It's absolutely essential, and you'll learn just as much, if not more, from those experiences as the other person will learn from you.
Yeah, that's great advice. Listen, if what Doug has been telling you today, if you find it helpful and you feel it's going to give you a leg up and a competitive edge and land a job that you wouldn't normally have got because you used one of his strategies, just reach back, help one other person do the same thing. That's all you're doing. And, I can tell you that your advice, because I follow you on social media, I see your responses to people. It's helping hundreds of people. You don't hear about the ones who, most people stay silent. They don't say anything about it, but I know what you're doing is absolutely amazing, so, listen, everybody, thank you so much for watching. Doug, I can't thank you enough, man. You're one of those inspiring guys who gets me, I just love what I'm doing because of people like you and what you're doing for your brothers and sisters. And I truly appreciate, the fact that I feel you're off to the races with your civilian career, and I can't wait to see where you're going. But I truly appreciate that you're reaching back, and this is such a big part of your life. So just a couple quick things, guys. We have at 7 Eagle Group, we call it a confidential. It's a talent network. So if you get a chance, please join that. That way you get your profile is shared with all of our recruiters. We have 25 people on our team here at 7 Eagle, and then we work with all the other SkillBridge providers. We make those profiles available to them if they need to make matches and are having trouble finding candidates. So please join our network. It's free, and we'd love that. Let's put you on our radar, and allows us to help you. If you can, follow us on social media so you can hear other announcements, like when we're interviewing other job search experts like Doug. And then if you ever want to chat with me, I'm always available to you guys 7 days a week. There's my calendar on here, and just schedule a video call with me, and I'll spend whatever time I can to help you on your path. That's it for today. Doug, thanks again, buddy, and I truly appreciate this.
No, I appreciate it. Thanks, Jordy.
All right.